Hi guys, we're very close to Christmas. I've got something very festive for you today, so let's roll that intro. Let's see what happens. Hi guys, welcome back. As I said just now, it is something very festive. After all, we're very close to Christmas, and I felt it'd be a lovely time to do a demonstration in oil of snow on the Romney Marsh. So before we go any further, let's dive straight in. Okay guys, welcome back. Now before we get started on our little snow scene for a very seasonal Christmassy feel to the whole of this tutorial, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the products and some of the materials that I'm going to be using in this. First things first, this is not a board, this is not a panel, it is in fact oil paper. Now it's Clairefontaine, it comes as a block. You can see them all joined together. I haven't got the outer cover, but it comes as a block of papers. I think they're about 15 or 20 to a pad. And I have coated this. I've given this a mid-tone grey gesso feel to it. So I come straight in with all my whites and darks, lights and darks straight away, and I can see everything that is one side or the other of this middle tone. So that is really useful if you're trying to put a snow scene especially onto white paper and you're doing predominantly a lot of white areas. It's very hard sometimes to see where you've been. So working off a mid-tone has so many other advantages, but certainly one for when it comes to doing a snow scene. One could argue that the colour under here should have been maybe a little warmer, maybe a peachier colour, because that would then work very nicely as putting some warmth back into the snow. I didn't do that on this one. I'm going straight in with the grey, as I said. Now the colours, you'll notice they're all over the place. I've been reducing my palette quite a lot lately and trying to test a few more new colours as well. Now the first one on here, of course, is going to be my burnt umber, and that is a staple. Now I've swapped out burnt sienna for oxide of red. I've used both in the past and I keep swapping them around now and again, but I wanted to see how that really works, because the oxide of red and its brother, the oxide of yellow, are both very transparent pigments, and they do mimic burnt sienna and raw sienna, so they're on there for good reason. Now my other staple green is of course Phithalo Green, very destructive green if you allow it to run riot on your palette, and right next to that is my other staple, which is Ultramarine Blue. Now the other one that has seen a change of late, now I used to have a lot of Cobalt Blue in here, and I've changed that out primarily for Phithalo Blue, the direct brother of Phithalo Green, but I've been waiting on this colour, and I'm waiting for another version of this colour, which is a turquoise or cobalt teal blue shade. Really an exciting blue shade of sort of a cyan-y type of process colour. Very close in terms of cyan is this one. So that one is going to sort of come to an end for a little while, and I'm going to be testing the versions of this out on my palette going forward. It's certainly in 2023. Now here is another staple, which is Magenta. You could also use alizarin crimson, as long as it's the permanent version and not the fugitive version. Here is my Cadmium Red Light, but the one above it is a cheaper red called Pyrrole Red, or Pyrrole Red, which is slightly cooler than this one. It's not got as much yellow in it. And then right next to it is the yellow I'm using, which is mimicking the cadmium yellow, but this one is Yellow Lake. Right next to that is the more expensive, of course, Cadmium Lemon. I haven't found anything yet to mimic that and change it out. And the last color, of course, is Titanium White. Now, why am I doing all these colors? Well, I have for a long time painted in Cobalt Blue, Cadmium Yellow, Cadmium Red, Cadmium Lemon, and all these colors are extremely expensive. and they are very expensive when you're first starting out. So it sort of brought me to heel the other week when I did a video for my Patreons that I've been sort of telling you to go out and spend all this money maybe, but I've been testing out other colors that may be as good, or certainly when you're starting, as good to use instead of the very expensive versions. So Pyrrole Red I'm going to be using, and not this one. This is the Yellow Lake, and I quite like that. That really is a very good mimic for Cadmium Yellow Light. And then this one, unfortunately, as I say, I can't find a mimic for yet, but I'm still looking. And yeah, the blue here is not very expensive as a blue, neither is the Ultramarine Blue. So both of those areas, all of these in fact now, all the way up to here, are fairly inexpensive. Series 1, 2, possibly a 3 for the Magenta. And so it's not that bad, but when you start talking of Cobalt Series 5, Cadmium Red Light, Cadmium Yellow Series 4s and 5s, it gets quite horrible when it comes to the money. So I'm trying to play around with these ideas, see how I get on with them, and hopefully I can then change my palette in such a way that you guys can go out and afford the paints without going and breaking, or at least ram raiding your local bank. So that's the plan anyway. All right, now first and foremost then, you can see the little picture somewhere around. It is a fairly generic little snow scene. It shows the North Downs behind a field of trees and an open field in the foreground. I haven't got the right format. I was going to put it on a very long one, but unfortunately it would have been so small in the picture plane that you could have either had that and no mixing, or a shortened version with some mixing. Alright, okay, so let's get underway. As always, my brushes are Rosemary & Company, and these are they. I have loads of them, all different shapes, all different sizes. There are predominantly filberts, daggers, or the angled ones, which are called daggers. I have small flats, and I have and they're all the long versions, so they've got a little bit more spring to them. I don't like short anything, so short flats, short filberts, no. Like long filberts, long flats, long handles too, while we're on the matter, long handles. And the only one that's not, or a bit of an alien one there, it's not one of Rosemary. It's a very cheap old bristle brush, which I just use for initial sketching of ideas. And the idea is now I'm going to come in with a bit of the translucent oxide of red, and I'm just going to bring in sort of a bit of a field drawing. I'm going to keep it quite low because there's not an awful lot going on in this field, to be fair. So I'm going to have it quite a low picture plane like that. In fact, I'm dragging this down, changing my mind as we go. And now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put in a few scratchy marks like this. There's not a lot of drawing going on in this painting, got to be fair. Just a few scratchy marks to suggest our trees. And I may alter slightly the perspective of these. I might raise them up and make them a little bit more dominant in our picture plane. Devices. Going to come back in and start mixing up a fair bit of paint for my sky. Now I'm going to come in with that Pyrrole Red. I'm going to try my best to ignore this colour altogether. I'm just going to come in here now. I'm going to look at mixing up for my sky. Nice red, and because it's a bluish red, it's actually coming out a little bit more purple than I'd wanted. Now had that been this one with a lot more yellow in it, it would have been a dirtier, grubbier purple. So how can I deal with that? If I'm going to say that I'm going to use this colour red and not this one, but there's yet less yellow in there than this one, how do I deal with this, taking this purple out of the mix in terms of its purity? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a bit of lemon. Now the lemon is a cooler yellow, so adding the lemon in instead of a hot yellow will make it go dull and pretty lifeless as a colour, violet colour. Now, very, very muted colour, and there's a good reason for that, and hopefully that will become more evident towards the end of this painting. When you get to the bottom, when we get to the back end of this, hopefully you'll understand why I've kept a lot of this colour quite muted early on. I'll put a bit more blue into there, bring that down to there. There we go. Alright, I'm going to leave that like that. I'm going to see how that looks in a short while. Meanwhile, I'm going to start looking at all my darks in here. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to clean it out just to get rid of a lot of the white out of it. And I'm going to be using quite a bit of this in the next mix. So the next mix is going to be a little bit of the yellow. You can see it's going in now. And some more of the blue. So I'm going to make a bit of a dirty, grungy green colour. Little bit of the red, because I don't want it to be purely a greenish colour, but that is going to be one colour we're going to be using. We're going to use not too much of that. What we've got to do now is going to come in with some more blue. I actually need, and it's called King's Blue Deep, and you also have a light version as well. I couldn't resist it. I was trying to keep my palette to a minimum, to be fair. It's a lovely colour, and it does work for a number of different purposes. Other areas. I'm going to put some other colours in there for that in a moment, but I want to come in. I'm going to mix down now some more blue and use some more of this Pyro Red. Now it is quite a cool red, doesn't have that much of a yellowness in it. It's very, very cool. It's sort of heading towards medium cadmium, medium red. No problem with that at all. If you accept that's what it is, you can always add a yellow into it to bring it back to somewhere here if you want to do that. And I think I'm going to persevere with that, because I feel that for you guys that are maybe just setting out, it might be well worth you getting hold of colours that are less expensive, of course, but still perform just as well. Now, one thing I will say about all of that, I'm going to have to change this brush. It's getting a little bit of a monster now. One thing I will say about buying cheaper paints, yes, cheaper paints within the brand of a good brand. I totally get that, totally agree with that. But what I wouldn't do is go and buy the supposedly more expensive colours from a cheap brand, because they'll be mimics, they won't be as good. They're not handmade, they're not professional, there are not so many things, and there are so many reasons why you should not even look at them, much less buy them. And I tell you that from experience and for many, many years of teaching students. Quite like that. I think that is giving that beautiful colour hue to those distant trees on that top line there, and because they are against that sky which is equally as pale, albeit another blue, these lighter colours here, not as dark as they were just now, but they still look dark when placed against that sky. I can come back in and tease any of those areas back together as I feel I need to. So I'm using the dagger on its sort of pointy long edge. So you've got a point, you've got the flat as it were, and you've got the chisel edge that you create by bringing the two areas together. And I'm just going to run that up like that. You could use a rigger, you can use almost all sorts of refined brushes to make this happen. A little bit of light into there, create the snow, and all I want to do really, I'm going to come down, they've got a lot more down here to do, but here I don't need to do too much, just the odd tap of colour that is suggesting some snowy variations. Now I think we've got a bit of an angle of snow coming up through here, I need to put that in. As I say, there's not an awful lot of colour, but you can see this area here that I've left in that beautiful red colour that we first drew with, and that should be an indication to you how we can actually make this a little more dynamic. So there's a couple of rules I want you to think about when it comes to painting, any painting, watercolour, pastel, oil, doesn't matter what it is, but you seldom if ever have a painting that is purely full of warm tones or purely full of cool tones. It doesn't really work out. You need somewhere to have a predominance, fine, of cool tones, which we've got here. But somewhere in there you need to have warm tones too to make the painting work. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what this painting really is about. Now, I'm mixing some of these colours up in here because these are deeper colours and they are bases of trees and stuff, and I'm just mixing them up so that when I put the final colours in, they will make some sense. Right now they probably don't make any sense at all. But that's not going to be the end of the matter. That is almost as they are in the photo, in the reference, which is fine if that's as far as you want to take it. But I don't want to do that. I want to actually warm this area right up. I need to make the dark stronger, and it may be that in doing so I may have to make the lights lighter because it comes down to a value change, nothing more. We need to make sure that whatever we put in here is going to stand out in the landscape, and because they're that much closer they have a little bit more of a definite form, and I need to do that and make sure that they do work like that. So I'm going to actually come in here, raise them up a little bit, and they're becoming lost edges, and I love that. That's what I was saying about creating fleeting little moments. Just mixing it all up. Now if you want to come in with some stronger oranges, please be my guest. I may even do that towards the end when I'm sure that's what I want. I'm going to in the meantime clean out my brush, and I want to come across here now with some of this lovely light colour through here. Now it is not a bright white, as we said, it's still got traces of blues, greens and colours in there. But because it is much brighter than the colours we've already put on, it really does show up very, very nicely. There is a fence line with fence posts. Now I'm not going to do that with anything short of using a rigger. Use a good one if you've got one. Use a good one. A little bit of light colour. Now again, don't make it pure white. They're not pure white. Bit more zesty or bit more Gamsol, whatever you've got as a dilutant in your pot, and then just pop along here and just suggest little posts that are representing the fence line. There we are, one, I think, Christmassy scene. What I will just do is I'm going to draw a few directional lines in our snow, very, very faintly. They don't have to be green, they don't have to be blue. They're just merely little shapes, but try and get them looking about right, because you can soon mess up the picture. And I think that I'm going to leave it there. Just going to put a little signature to one side, and then this can go out the way to dry off. Okay everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. I had a whole heap of fun as always creating it for you, and I'm sure you got something from it to take on in your own painting moving forward. And don't forget, as always, the reference is over on my Patreon channel for you to freely pop over there and freely download and use it. And there is also a Painting with Paul Apps page that you can go onto on Facebook. Join that and show everybody what you're up to when it comes to creating versions of my tutorials. I love to see them, and so that would be fantastic if you do that. But at the same time, if you've enjoyed this content, if you enjoy my videos generally, then please, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. And if you're not a subscriber to my watercolor channel, pop on over there and join that one too. It costs you nothing to do that, but it really does help the channel grow. And this is a young channel. It needs a lot of help, and by subscribing, by commenting, by sort of clicking the bell icon, the notification tab, all those things, it does show the YouTube algorithm that it is a channel that is worth supporting, and therefore it helps push it out to a lot more people who, like you, are trying to learn to paint either in oils or watercolor. So that would be awesome if you'd do that. And while you're over on the Patreon downloading that reference, check it out. There is an oil tier, $6 a month, doesn't cost you a lot. Every month I add new fully narrated full-length tutorials on there for you guys to get into and enjoy. So, and there is also a Patreon community as well to get involved with. So lots on offer, and I'd love to welcome you as a new patron moving on into 2023. You don't even have to wait that long if you don't want to. You can get involved straight away. That all said and done, I just want to say a big, big thanks to each and every one of you who regularly come along and support my channel by watching my videos, by leaving comments, subscribing, all these things. Thank you guys so much. Without your support, it really can't keep happening. I enjoy that support, and it does give me encouragement to keep making content. And one last thing, thank you so much to everybody who will continue on with me in the journey during the next year. And I just wanted to say and wish each and every one of you happy Christmas. Wherever you are with your family, your friends, enjoy yourselves, stay safe, enjoy your painting. I see each and every one of you during the course of 2023. Look forward to it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. you.